Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever and wherever you are. This is Lee, and we're working on speech anxiety, and I'm talking with my mate, YUSUKE. Say howdy, YUSUKE.
Howdy.
And YUSUKE is from Virginia at the moment, and he is a Ph.D. in psychology, and he's a university professor, and he stuttered from when he was young, but only around 10% um, recently, mainly blocks and silences. But the problem is for Yusuke is his business, in effect, is giving lectures to students. And his primary problem was these lectures are 45 minutes in length. The longer he lectures, the more he tended to stutter, and that's something that's very difficult for him to do. And it threatens his the quality of his work and his career and all that. And it's pointless, and there's no reason for him to continue doing it, and he's not going to continue doing it. And so we've been working on that. I mean, it's not that we strive for perfect speech. We don't. We strive not to appear to be speech disabled, and we want 100% score on that note. We do not want to appear speech disabled, not 1% of the time. We will accept I make mistakes, and I'll force a word once in a while, but nobody thinks I have a speech problem. And that's where we draw the line. We do not allow ourselves to appear speech disabled. And when we make, because most human beings make lots of mistakes when they speak. So, and they don't think anything about it. And if you told them they had a stuttering problem, they would think you're crazy. They wouldn't pay any attention to you. And they'd be right, because nothing they do is caused by fear. Whatever problems we have, you and I have, Yusuke, would be related to fear and manipulating around words. I don't do that anymore. I don't have to, because I'm long past it, which is not to say I don't have a threat. I've told you and others before, I do have threats on occasion. They're just easy to beat, and no one ever knows the difference, period, ever. So, but your situation, it's not enough that you read aloud and be enthusiastic and practice that. It's not enough that you do double mind training treatments every day. And it's not enough that you master the crutches and know how to use them easily. And it's not enough that you have a speech game plan for panic situations. Nothing is enough until you stay with this program, until you love to speak. Period. You can't afford to settle for anything less because of your background as a stutterer. This is your insurance. This is your guarantee that you're not going backwards. It doesn't mean, in other words, becoming a person who stops stuttering, a PWSS, that's one subject. That's first base. And that we reach it when we have been a month without appearing speech disabled. You reach it, I reach it. Anyone who can do that has learned the crutches well enough that they do not appear speech disabled. If they do so, it's by choice, it's by laziness, it's by unwillingness to use the crutches and the speech plan. And so when they to go a month, they have definitely proved that they are capable of not having of the appearance of a speech disability. No, their speech is not perfect. No, they have not beaten fear. No, they do not love to speak yet. They got a lot of work to do, but it's fun work. It's going down the hill. The hard part is getting up to the top and stopping appearing speech disabled. Once you get up there, you're coasting, but you got to keep the your foot on the gas, and you got to keep working the program and keep doing this. And now I've told you before that we have a fluency ladder. Have I talked to you about the fluency ladder?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it look, I don't know. We have not discussed this, and I don't know if there are 10 layers on the 10 steps in the fluency ladder. I don't know how many I put in that ladder, but if there are 10, the order of your 10 would be different than maybe most of the other people that I deal with. Everybody would have their own order, but generally speaking, typically what is in that ladder is roughly what's the typical situation. So your situation would be similar to that, if not identical. It would be similar. And public speaking for most people is at the very top of the ladder. And that's your job. You are a public speaker. That's your business. So you can't sit back and say, "Oh, coach, I'm just not going to do any public speaking until I mastered all these other layers." You can't do that. So what are you going to do? You've got to have a panic speech plan to die for. You got to have a panic speech plan that is fail safe, that will not fail. Now,
Mhm.
so that's the background. Now, tell me, you were about to say when we started this call, you were about to tell me
Yes, yes.
how you're doing. So tell me where you are now.
So where I am now, so I have been doing like daily affirmations and also daily reading aloud every day, and those really are helping me to speak like this more fluently in daily conversations. So I think that is a win for me. Um, and then I'm also becoming more comfortable speaking to strangers, making orders, um, using phones to call somebody that I don't know, you because that's also my a part of my business, right? Like I reach out to different people, different researchers to get the job done. So that's where I am now. In terms of public speaking, I have less fear to speak to my students, but whenever I have like more, other faculty members, like strangers, more like general public, I still have some fear to
Of
it.
course, sure.
So I am, you know, working hard toward that, but I'm not sure how.
All right,
It
look.
seems to me, that the public speaking itself has multiple layers. So it has, like
Yes,
students
yes.
and then kind of strangers, but I know because they're my colleagues, and then the top of the top is that public speech, or to thousands of people.
Now, you sound great to me, and if I had never met you before, and if we were talking about, world politics or religion or philosophy or something else right now, I would never think, based on what I just listening to you, that you stuttered or that you ever stuttered or that you ever had any kind of stuttering problem. I wouldn't think that.
Really?
No, oh no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. But having said that, I know you did stutter. So so I'm listening for it, all right? And when you think a word and have to maneuver around it, I generally know that you did that. I can tell. Now, I'm going to ask you how many words in what you just said to me, how many words approximately, and I realize it's a guess, how many words do you think you had to maneuver around when you were just taught what you just said to me, if any? How many words did you have to that were a little bit of a concern and you maneuvered around?
I'll say 10.
I only picked up 5. Now,
Hmm.
the importance of this is this. If you really want to beat it, and I know you do, and I know you will, but if you really want to beat it, it's just as important for you to forgive yourself and to forget Every one of those 5 mistakes that you just made. If you say you made 10, I challenge you. Now, all I'm saying is you may have had some concerns, but you're talking to somebody who is better at picking up this problem than anyone maybe on this planet ever has been, because I've spent so many thousands of hours doing it. All right. So if I only pick up 5 with my skill sets, you can forget about the other 5 that you had. I mean, absolutely forget them. In other words, half of your problems, you smoked them by Coach Lee. Give me a break. Give me a break. Now, why am I saying this? Because if you want to beat it, you've got to give yourself a break. If you won't forgive yourself for being a human being and forcing a word once in a while or dropping a first letter or something, no one notices. No one hears it. And if they did, they don't care. And they don't think, oh, Yusuke has a problem. Dr. Whatever, I'm not going to say your last name, has a problem. No, they're not going to say that. Nobody will ever say that. So you have to give yourself check mark, star, trophy, and say, when you don't appear speech disabled, you get a check mark, star, trophy, and you got to pat yourself here. Every time, every lecture, every conversation you have with a stranger, when you meet with a bunch of professors and have to say a few words and whatever, every time you do this and do not appear speech disabled, you give yourself a check mark, a star, a trophy, and a pat on the back every single time. That's number 1. Number 2, you will for a while, as long as you think some words, you will maneuver around some words. So what? But you're going to forget that. Forgive yourself and forget it. Forgive yourself. Nobody's picking it up. I picked up 5. I'm telling you right now, if I had 10 non-stutterers sitting listening to you talk, they wouldn't have picked up any. They wouldn't have picked up a thing. You picked up 10. I picked up 5. They'd pick up none. And if somebody said, well, he stumbled on a word, they stumble on words every time they open their mouth. So look, you've got to realize that only one opinion of you that counts. Whose opinion is that? Really, in the final analysis, whose opinion is it? It's
Myself.
your opinion of yourself. And you got to cut yourself slack, mate. You're either speech disabled, fail, or you're not speech disabled, pass. That's it. There's nothing in between. Now, to be an eloquent speaker and to speak like Winston Churchill or some other wonderful speaker that you've ever heard, fine. That's another subject. We'll get there. We'll get there more than you imagine. But your goal is never to be anything but the best you can be, Yusuke. That is success. When you're giving your best effort, that is the barometer. There is no other test. And you got to say, hey, Yusuke's okay, mate. He's not perfect. He makes mistakes. But man, he is A-okay. He's doing a good job. The substance of what he's saying is great. And people hear him as a fluent speaker. He's living and moving in the fluent world. And few little blips here and there, forget it. If you will forgive yourself and forget it, all the blips, all 10 that you heard, oh no, you thought you had 10, but you didn't. They weren't in evidence, even to me. Believe me, if they're not evidence of me, they're not there. They're not there. So when you forgive and forget your mistakes, what happens? The next time you're in the same situations, you don't make 10 in your mind, you make 5. And the time after that, you make 2. And then you make one or two a bunch of times. And after a while, you're not making any. Except exactly what other people do who never stuttered. If you talk too fast, your tongue's going to get tied and you're going to make some mistakes.
Mm.
If you let your mind think of going too many different directions, you're going to make some mistakes. And that's just being human. And no one cares. And no one ever will. No one will ever grade you badly for it. No one. No one. But the real opinion of you that matters is your opinion. And you've got to start giving yourself proper grades. You want to make progress from here? I know you do. You've got to grade yourself pass or fail as to speech anxiety. I mean, as to stuttering. That's it. And when you get a pass, you must award yourself a check mark, a star, a trophy, and a pat on the back every single time. And say, yeah, I made a few mistakes. So what, man? So what? I want you to say, so what? Didn't matter. I made my point. I made my lecture. I drove home my points. They got it. Now, the fast to get to the point that you don't have 10 in your mind, or even 5, or even 3, or even 1, that's a fear driven maneuver around a word. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about anything else.
Mm.
If you have the hiccups and you burp, that doesn't matter either. We're not talking about any other kinds of imperfections that you may think, and be worried about. Stop worrying about it, because your opinion is all that matters. And if you're doing your best, you're going to have a good opinion of yourself. Period. Period. Now, to get there, the people who have you been, I know, I think the answer to this is yes. You've been to some SAM meetings, haven't you?
No, I have not had any chance to do
Oh
that
my
yet.
gosh, you want my help, and you won't do what I ask you to do. How would you feel if your student, if I were one of your students, and I asked you to read chapters 7, 12, and 18,
Hmm.
and every time that we got together, you said, Lee, have you read chapters 7, 12, and 18 yet? And I say, no, I haven't done that. How would you feel about my work ethic, and how much interest would you have in helping me and continuing to ask me to do it? How much interest would you have?
0.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you want me to give up on you?
No.
Then come to SAM meetings. Make it a point, make it a priority.
Okay.
Look, don't rely on me. I am not your salvation. You are your salvation. I am not. The sooner you eliminate reliance on me, the better off for you and me. I want to help you if you'll do what I ask you to do. I asked you to post a review on Stuttering Stories with Happy Endings. You haven't done that yet. You're too busy. I'm not too busy to help you, but you're too busy to do what I ask. That's not fair. Come to SAM meetings. That is where you can practice. And when you're there, raise your hand, ask some questions, say nice speech, really good, and ask some questions. What's your favorite crutch, or blah 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 blah. Ask some questions. Participate and listen to other people who have had your problem, and some of them still do. And get this is your community. It's the only one in the world. 7 billion people plus. There's one community of ex-stutterers and people fast becoming ex-stutterers like you. It's called World Stop Stuttering Association. That's what the community is. It's unique. Never been anything like it in the history of the world. It's new. Yet there have been over 80 SAM meetings already. And we usually have a speaker, and last week they had a very good one, and we usually do. And sometimes we have open forums, and just we have a few coaches there, and we just take questions. Or we throw out some people make, what are their problems? What are their issues? What would they like to discuss? That kind of thing. You get different angles than mine. There are different approaches. And I would like to be able to use examples when I've talked to you from SAM meetings, but I can't do it because you won't go. You're too busy to go. You're handcuffing me. I was going to say that one of the coaches there is named Prathusha. She's a beautiful Indian girl. And she's works for a major accounting firm. She has a BA and an MA. And she's a certified speech coach. And she used to have trouble talking to strangers and mainly men. And she beat it pretty fast. And that was in 2016. And she's stuck around and she helps us coach other people. But one of the things, when you listen to her speak, you would never in your life think that this girl, she's about 25 or 6 now, you would never in the world think that this girl ever had a problem in her life with her speech. Her speech is beautiful. And the distance between you and Prathusha is she has no fear. She loves to speak. And she speaks beautifully. How do you get from where you are to where she is? Well, one is continue to talk a little bit more in your pressured situations than you're comfortable talking, like 110% instead of 100. And then next time you go in there, 110 is comfortable. Then you go to 120, and you keep expanding it until you don't feel any pressure being there at all. I mean, you're just comfortable being there.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way to do it. Now, to do it successfully, you really got to have a great panic speech plan because on occasion you're going to panic. And what are you going to do when you panic? So, a panic situation, that's we got to we want to talk about that. Um, and the other one I'm going to say is Crutch 13.
Crutch 13.
Um, Basically, not thinking about words and the way Prathusha gets there, I'm convinced, is she says she's converted fear into enthusiasm.
Converted.
He said, well, how do you do that? Everything you say it like you're over the top. You're so excited about everything you want to say that you're just bubbling. You're effusive, ebullient. You're radiating joy and passion about in a positive way, only positive emotions. And you're radiating this. You're thinking, how can I say this? Right now, I'm trying to think, how can I say this to Yusuke and show him how much excitement and emotion and positive joy I can put in everything I say to the man?
Mm.
How can I do it? Well, I'm trying right now. Am I succeeding? Now, when you do that, you're possessed, not by demons. You're possessed by joy and enthusiasm and love and knowledge and sharing the best you have to bring. Oh, my toast is so dry. Would you please pass the butter? Everything you say, you want to say it like you mean it, like you really mean it. That's what Prathusha does. And you can peel back from that a little bit, say, oh, that's way over the top. I wouldn't do what Coach Lee's doing now. They think I'm a fool. Well, they wouldn't. They'd actually like you better and what you have to say better. They like you already, but they'd like you better if you did this because you're showing passion. It's like a singing coach I had when I was a kid. I used to sing, and I remember a singing coach saying to me, "Love it. If you want to really be good, man, you got to be an extreme example of yourself. YUSUKE, you want to be fluent? You want to love to speak? You've got to let go, man. You got to stop holding back. Your feelings are your positive feelings. You got to hold back your negative ones because they will get you in a lot of trouble. You got to clean them up and find a way to make them positive before you bring them out. Till then, keep them buried. The positive ones, you can't do it too much. You can't be too over the top. And if you will do this, you're going to stop thinking words, period. And if you don't think words, you can't fear them. And if you don't fear them, you don't have to go like this, run down the field. What I'm asking you to do is run the ball down the field as if there's no tacklers out there. And there aren't when you do this. They're gone. That's what Prathusha does. We got a 13-year-old boy there named Zach who comes to all the meetings. He came to me when he's 11, and he stopped stuttering, and he um, posted a success story maybe 6 months ago with his father's blessings. His father comes to all his coaching sessions. I don't coach young people without parents present. And Zach is now, he uses his hands a bit more than he needs to, but it's helping him right now. But he is, he's halfway to where Prathusha is. He's really being expressive when he talks. That's what you got to be. You got to have a good speech, a good panic plan, but you got to, you're dominant every time you talk. And this, look, to learn to be, I want you to be over the top, joyful, positive in every word you say
Mm-hmm.
to your family, your friends, the cab driver, the guy who shines your shoes, the students, the faculty, the waiters at the restaurant. Everybody, make it your modus operandi, your MO, the way you do things, the way you speak. That's what Prathusha's done. And that's what Zach is doing. If you came to SAM meetings, what I'm saying would make more sense to you because you would have actually seen and heard the people I'm talking about. But we don't have that advantage because you're too busy to do that. So, now, before we talk about your panic plan, which I want to do, I want to ask you three questions. Can you remember your last bad incident, i.e., when you appeared clearly speech disabled? Had a stranger been there, they would have said that. When was the, can you remember your last one?
The last one is about a month ago, I believe.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about that? Can you,
So
what can you remember about it?
yes, yes, I remember that it was an online interview via Zoom that we are interviewing prospective students, and well, it's totally my fault that I did not really prepare for my 10-minute presentation because I was asked to describe like what I do, like for my research. So I thought I could do that, but then at that moment, speech anxiety hit me pretty hard that I
Okay.
not really. So
And
I thought
what did you sound like? If I had been there, what would I have heard?
uh, it was like very choppy speech. So like I I do autonomous research, so it's like this. It's not like fluent, smooth speech, and I know that I was going to link words, but at that point I was unable to do that. I don't know why.
And when you were unable to link the words, what did you do? What would I have heard?
I So it was mainly silence. Go on.
Mainly silence.
Yes,
Was that like in the middle
like
of a sentence or
middle
before
of
you
the
started it or what?
middle of the sentence, each word that I want to utter, or each phrase. So like I do two kinds of research. One is human automation interaction with something like this.
Okay.
It
All right.
so
So your last bed was about a month ago, and which means you that qualifies you to post a success story, and the sooner you post it, the better for you because it's like forgiving and forgetting your mistakes. It's it's admitting it's positive for you. You got to be willing to say, accept the fact that you're improving dramatically and that you're not appearing speech disabled. If you're unwilling to admit that, guess what? You're holding on to it. You are physically embracing it and saying, I'm not going to let Satan go. I want
mhm.
to hold on to this guy. No, you don't. No, you don't. You can't get to home plate if you won't say, I reached first base. You got to admit you're on first base. So that's number one. Having said that, next question. Um, how many minutes per hour of the day, if any, do you think negatively about your speech?
I think negatively about my speech. I would say 5%, less than 5%.
Okay. Okay.
I think I have some specific like scenarios or environment that I tend to fear more, like conversation with my students over Zoom, and if it's more than 5 to 10 students, I start feeling, I don't know if I'm comfortable doing that. But other than that, I mean, like, when I speak with my colleagues and strangers and my family and other people, I don't feel any fear whatsoever. It's that is
When you have these negative thoughts, do
mhm.
you do anything about it?
um, I do try to get it out of my mind through affirmations, but
What? Give me
also
an example.
um, so um, I reject fear in all of its forms. I try
Okay.
to
And
speak to any groups and to
a
any.
real easy one to grab that
Mm,
and always helps. I love to speak. I love to speak. I love to speak. I
I
love
was-
to speak. I love to say my name, music. I love to speak. That's real easy. But whatever one is easiest for you, you
mm,
need to have ready. And when you get those negative thoughts under your breath, or if you're alone, say it. But I mean,
right,
if you're not, then do it under your breath. I love to speak. I love to speak. I love to speak. I
right.
love to speak. I love to speak. I love to
Right now, what I'm little more afraid of is it's not the actual situation, but anticipation of being in front of everybody, or being in.
But and when you have that thought, you got to
Mhm.
say, I love to talk to groups. I love to talk to groups. I love to be in front of everybody. I love to do that. It's wonderful fun. I love to do it. I love to give my message with enthusiasm and joy and passion. Talk to yourself. Program your mind. That's the name of the game, mind control. That's what makes life great. Life is between your ears. That's number one. It's not external. It's what's going on in here determines your life, how you see things. And you are in charge of how you do it. You can program your own mind. That's a fact. The neurologists say that, and we know it's true. The psychiatrists say it too. The, the most important words in my book, as I've said to you many times, are in the front to you, the reader. We have free choice to accept or reject thoughts. Nothing compels us to think anything except our own desires. So use your mental switch and dictate your thoughts. Dictate, dictate, dictate your thoughts. Believe that you can improve, and you will. Your job is to dictate your thoughts. Take control of YUSUKE. Maximize him. Life is not about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. You can do this. You can do it, but you got to do it. You can't accept. You're not a leaf blowing in the wind. When the wind blows you away, if you're a guy on a sailboat with a sail and a rudder and a steering wheel and a captain, you're it, and a charted course. You know where you want to go. Now you may not always get exactly where you want to go, but you're going to steer like mad through the currents of life and get to some pretty good places, largely where you want to go. But you're in charge. You're not out there without a sail, a rudder, and a steering wheel, and a charted course. That's not you're not out there in a, you know, you're not a leaf on the water just being blown around like most of the world. You're in charge of you, of what's here, and that's who you are here. It's not the arms and the limbs and all that stuff. That's not who you are. That's a garment you wear. Who you are is in here, and you're in control of it. It's putty. That's the neurologist world for it. It's like putty. And you can program your brain as long as you're alive. It's not hardwired at birth, as they said when I was a child. Or it's not hardwired at age 5, as they later said, or age 10, or age 28. Now they say around 2000, they said, no, it's not hardwired ever. So you're on the hook. You are responsible for your thinking, period. You got to accept the responsibility. It got you into trouble with stuttering. You went down the wrong path, and you got some bad habits going, and you're going to get rid of them because you're not going to use them. And when you don't use those habits, you're going to lose them. You're going to unlearn the habit. It may take you, I don't know how long it's going to take you to unlearn the habit. I have no idea. It depends on how much you work at it. Coming to SAM meetings will help. Doing what I ask you to do will help. Oh, yeah. And I want you to get over it, man.
Yeah.
My reward is your success. So I'm very interested in your success. I want to be paid. So, okay. So you've had the last bad incident about a month ago. You're thinking about negatively about something less than 5% of the time, and you're going to contradict it and fight it. You're going to try and drown those thoughts in a flood of positive affirmations. Every time they come up, YUSUKE to the rescue. Who's going to rescue YUSUKE? YUSUKE is going to rescue YUSUKE. No one else can do it. Your mother would love to do it. She cannot do it for you, mate. Nobody can rescue you but you. So you got to fight it. You got to resist it. You don't just give in. You're resisting it. It's an arm wrestling thing. And you can win it every time. But you got to put the pressure on. So, all right. Now, that's bad incidents and it's thinking about negative thoughts. So the next question, how many words in a pressure situation? Well, forget that.
Mm.
In a non pressure situation, how many words, if any, do you think that you think about fear and have to maneuver around? In a non pressure situation, how many, if any?
Um, I I don't know how to answer this question
Okay.
because I can't think of any, but when I speak, it comes very quickly to me that, oh, I'm gonna stutter on this. So, but I don't know how many. I would say 5% of what I want to say, or
Um,
that.
and when you're in a pressure situation,
It increases maybe to 20%. So I feel like I'm so close that I can, win this battle. That it's all about fear, and I'm so convinced that this is my bad habit.
the fear will, you, the way to beat fear is to speak without problems. Because the more you speak without problems,
Hmm.
particularly in under pressure, it's like inoculating yourself against a disease. You build up an immunity to the situation. And after a while, there you say, well, hey, I didn't have a problem, so there's no reason to be excited about this, to have
Right,
any fear. So it dies on its own accord.
right,
So your war is not specifically against fear. Your war is to correct your thinking, and that will take care of the fear. Your
mm,
objective is not to get rid of the fear, it's to direct your mind into the proper paths. And you want to be like what I'm saying to you right now, Yusuke.
mm.
I have no thought about my speech or stuttering in any way, shape, or form in anything that I say to you. I'm so interested in conveying my message to you. I have zero room in my brain for anything else.
Right, right.
And that's what Prathusha does. And that's what Zach is beginning to do.
And I
And
am experiencing that as well. That when I speak what I want to say, like now, I don't stutter. But like when I start like thinking about what to say, how to say this, or maybe some words, now I start stuttering.
now,
And
but you don't, but look, Yusuke, you cannot search for words to say. Now, I realize you're speaking not in English is not your mother tongue. So hats off. You speak English very well, but you don't. If you choose a less appropriate word, a less effective word here or there, because you're in your not in your natural tongue, you're still communicating your ideas. Cut yourself some slack. It's fine.
yeah,
I don't want you to think. I don't want you to think words at all. All the words I've said to you today, I have not thought about one word before I said it. Not one. You don't have time to think about the words you're going to say. Your brain, that's your brain's job. Do you have to tell your brain how to breathe in and out? No, you don't. Or have tell it, oh, gee, I got to blink my eyes now. Blink, blink, blink. You don't need to tell your brain these things. That's your brain's job. Get out of your brain's way. Your brain is fine. Stop interfering with your brain.
I think that's the problem because I am, doing a university professor. I need, in my mind, I have to say things in a appropriate way to some.
Your word, but you must accept the fact that your most clumsy, most awkward, most inappropriate or just words will still get the job done.
Right.
Take a Valium, man. I don't mean literally. Stop worrying about it. You can't, you got to be focused on even when you talk to me. I would like you to talk to me the way I'm talking to you. I would like to feel your enthusiasm. Can you do that? Can you say anything to me
Of
and
course.
show me your
I
enthusiasm?
I'm so excited to learn this and get this done.
And when you do that, there is no fear.
No fear, no
There's no
stutter.
words. This is what Prathusha does. This is what Zach is learning. This is what I want you to learn. You can do this.
Hmm.
Okay, so the the answers that I'm looking for, ideally from you, was when was your last bad incident? And it was I frankly can't remember. And you really couldn't remember. You said it was about a month ago. You don't really know. So that's pretty close to the answer that we want to hear, you know, or months ago. I don't know when, kind of thing. Um, the second one, how many negative thoughts do you have in a normal hour about speech? And you said less than 5%. That's good. We're looking for zero.
Zero.
And then how many words do you think um, before you say them when you're not under pressure, and how many when you're under pressure? And you said, well, when I'm not under pressure, maybe 5%. When I'm under pressure, maybe 20. And we're looking for zero in both. And
Zero.
when you get to zero in both, then you're basically where Prathusha is. But the way you get there is, of course, going up the ladder and talking more and more when you feel the pressure, continuing to build. You don't go from 10-pound curling to 50. You don't do that. You go
Mhm.
from 10 to 12 and 12 to 15 and 15 to 20. You're going to go up the ladder like that. But if you have to go to 50 pounds, you're going to use both hands and get the guy next to you to help you lift it, so you don't pull a muscle. You know, uh, But so that but the way you get there is talking more under pressure, but it's also equally or more important. It's getting yourself to embrace this over the top enthusiasm, joy.
Mhm.
Let the entire time that you're speaking, you got to be thinking, how can I say this with more passion in a positive way? How can I do that? Every word you say, when you do that, you are going to blow fear out of your life. Fear of words. You're not even going to think the words. Though, remember this, the specific words are irrelevant. I love words. There are few people you'll ever know who love words and etymology, the study of words and their roots, any more than I do. I'm passionate about it. And I wrote a book about it, Words You Need to Know and Facts You're Embarrassed Not to Know. And I love them. But I don't think about the words before I say them. If I'm going to give a speech, yes, I write it out and I love doing it. And I rehearse it until I've memorized it so people don't think I'm reading or I'm more or less memorized it. I
Okay.
glance at it once in a while and I know it's there. And I
So,
deliver my best speeches that way. And if I don't have time to do that, I make bullet points and I focus on my delivery. I look at the point I want to make and I let my brain do the work. It may make some mistakes on occasion, no problem, and I keep right on going. So I've got you. We need you need to be vaccinated against uh, speech disability. That's the disease, and you need to be vaccinated against it a little bit more and booster shots. Boom, 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 boom. All the time. And so that's exposure. We'll call it that's your exposure. That's part of the solution. But exposure is not enough unless you will make this commitment. You want to expedite the process. The more you commit to, I'm going to do what that crazy old fool in Bermuda says. I'm going to be so enthusiastic. Until I see this guy again, I'm going to be the most enthusiastic professor in this university. I'm going to have fun doing it. I'm taking joy and laughter with me. And that's another thing. Enthusiasm, Prathutia combines enthusiasm and smiling,
Smiling.
and what a great combination. You want to be enthusiastically smiling with almost, they'll say, God, that Professor Yusuke, man, he is so upbeat. He's so positive. He's such an upper. When he comes in the room, I feel like a light went on, you know. That's what you want to be. But you can't just be that way. You got to make yourself that way.
Mm.
And you need to do it 24/7. It's a habit. Instead of holding back and fearing words, thinking words, fearing them, and holding back, as long as you're doing any of that, you're not there. You got to do zero of that. Zero. So
Mm-hmm.
now let's talk about your panic plan. Taking us a long time to get there, but let's talk about your panic plan. Um, what is use case panic plan? It's too blurry. Read it to
Okay.
me.
It says less link and full stop.
Okay.
And I have a lot like on the other side, extreme pronunciation, smiling, and speak softly, modulation, and have fun.
Okay.
So these are my speech plans
All
so
right.
far.
Well,
But maybe
the
it's too much, like,
okay.
too many.
I want you. Your key plan is correct. Less link stop, because that is that is a simple plan. That's when you practiced it and you're good at it, it will always save you. And when you really have mastered it, when you've done it and done it and done it and done it, when you don't need it, until it's easy for you to do,
Mm.
I will talk to you right now, talking less, linking my words to full stops, and I will vary the length of my stops from 1 second to 2 seconds to 3 seconds and back to 1 second, and then I'll continue.
Mm.
And this is less, link, and stop. Now I'm going to ask you questions, and I want you to show me that you know how to apply this plan. Okay, where were you born?
I was born in Morioka, Japan.
Okay, now the answer was Mariota, Japan. You're talking less.
Ah,
You don't need to repeat things, mate. You're not. One of the mistakes stutterers make is they say a lot of words that are unnecessary, particularly if they know that they can say them without a problem. But they're setting themselves up for failure. We want less. Okay, so the answer was Mariota, Japan. I may have mispronounced it. Forgive me. And okay, that's question number one. Tell me about that city. Is it in the mountains? Is it in the desert? Is it on the water? Tell me about it.
it's the, it's a mountain area,
Okay. Um, were you at the bottom of the mountain, or were you up in the middle, or at the top? Where were you?
bottom of the mountain.
Okay. In the winter, did you have snow on that mountain?
Yes,
And did you ski, snow ski?
yes, I love skiing.
Oh, good for you. I love it too. I used to have a home in Aspen. I skied 75 days a year. Um, Okay, so um, when did you leave Japan and move away from Japan? How old were you?
I was 19 years old.
You were 19. The
Yes.
answer was 19.
Oh.
Will you pay attention, Professor? Come on. I
No, I
will.
don't want to be rude to you. So I.
No, I'm being strict with you. I'm being strict with you. You're under pressure. I want you to prove to me that you can do less, and you've missed it on two answers. You did the
Yes.
linking okay and stopping okay, but you didn't do less okay.
To speak
All right. So
less.
my job is to get you to do less as well, because in an absolute panic situation,
Okay. Absolute panic situation.
and if you have a problem with any first word, what are your favorite crutches? If you have a problem with any, like you wanted to say Mariota, Japan. Let's say you're going to say Mariota, and you're going to get stuck on. No, you're not.
Okay.
What are the easiest ways for you to say the first feared word, whatever it is, Mariota, YUSUKE, whatever it is? What are your easiest ways to do it? Tell me in order. One, two, three. What are the easiest way and the next easiest, the next easiest?
Uh, Crutch number 7, whisper. So
Okay.
have
So you
a
would say Mariota, Japan, like that.
Marioka. Yes.
Okay. What's your next favorite?
Uh, Spell wars. So Morik. So
Okay.
my
Okay.
favorite.
And what's your next one?
Second favorite. Then the third one is modulation. So
Okay.
Morioka.
All right.
Uh,
Um, I always want you to use ones that you're most comfortable with. So, having said that, I want to suggest to you that those are not the best, those are not the easiest ones to use. If they work great for you, then continue. But I would say the easiest one is modulation.
modulation.
Mariota.
Mar-
Mariota. Say it.
Morioka. Morioka.
Coach Lee.
Coach Lee.
Coach Lee.
Coach Lee.
Yusuke.
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 Modulation is easier than any of your three. Now you did pick you did say modulation. I'm putting it number one. Number two, in the most extreme situations, it's really super panic, and you're in such panic, you're having trouble even making a sound.
Hmm.
Real extreme. You haven't felt that way in a long time, maybe, but let's say you do. Let's say that something happens at school and they're having everybody in the school at the major auditorium, the MC didn't show, and you've been asked to MC and to introduce the 12 people
Oh
on
my
the
God.
stage with you, all their names. You've been asked to do that, and you're going to do it. But you're absolute panic. Now, crutch number 4 will always work.
That's inserting sound or word.
Or word. I can say, I'll use the words well, so, and because they're just easy words to say.
Well,
So I
so
say, you use any words you want, but I'm just using those as examples. Um, the words or the sound, whichever one, ah or before. And you can make them any length. We talked about this before. You can make the sound any length you want, long or medium long or short or super short, so short you can't even hear it. And you can also make it loud, medium, or very soft, so it's almost you can't hear it. Ali, Yusuke, Mariana, Japan. I can make it as soft and as short as I want it. It's much better. Modulation is the easiest,
Um,
If you, but remember when you modulate, you've got to come really out of your register one way or the other. You can't be close to your register. You may get hung up. You follow? You can't be close to the register. You got to come out. In other words, you can't hold back. You got to come out. Okay, okay, like that. I mean, way out. And I'm doing it loud. I don't have to do it loud. But the loud is another way of coming out, loud and soft, as opposed to modulating itself.
mm,
Okay, okay. Well, I can't. I was trying to do it without going up.
mm,
I've trained myself to go up and down, so I got a habit. So, um, but it will work. But when you use the sound or you I say to people who are such severe stutterers that they can't really say anything to me. Really can't say anything to me. I say this. Can you do this? And they go, yeah. I said, do it. I said, then you can speak. You will never be at a loss for words as long as you can make a sound. I can say anything I want. Whatever it is you want me to say, I can do it. I want you to answer my questions, and I want you to put an or an in front of every word. I don't care how long it is, or how loud it is, or how short it is, or how soft it is. But I want you to put an or
mm,
an in front of every word that you say back to me.
yes.
So you won't say a lot of words because it's tiring. Okay, so um, what caused you to move away from Japan at age 19? Why did you move away?
I moved to university. I moved to America for my higher education.
Okay. Now you're not actually connecting your sounds to the word. You did the but not the ah.
Mm,
The higher education. If
uh,
you don't link, you can still get stuck. If you don't link the sound to the word, you can still get stuck. And I'm talking about real extreme pressure here. The worst pressure you've ever felt. You can still talk and you can introduce every one of these people on that platform. And another thing I like you know my fear is with you that your stuttering is not severe enough or wasn't severe enough to force you to learn the crutches well enough to save you in the ultimate panic situation. That's my concern. Um, that's why we're practicing these methods. You think, well, I really don't need them. I can go and have a break and say the word anyway. Because why? Because I'm not afraid and I don't really need the anyway. I'm talking to Coach Lee and it doesn't make any difference because I'm not afraid and I can say anything to him anyway. So it it doesn't make for a good test of you. But um, if you'll do it the right way, then and if you'll practice doing it under, more, you got to practice doing these crutches on your own.
mhm.
Crutch, the ones that you're not really great at using, like number four, um, is probably the best all-around crutch. And I don't think you really know how to use it.
Number four is the best of the best, the best of all the
It
crutches.
probably is in the absolute disaster situations.
Hmm.
You know, it will not fail you. Doctor so and so such and such, Mrs. Smith, Dr. Brown, Mr. Jones, Miss Stevens and Dr. So and so. Look what I'm doing. I'm just putting a sound in front of all the names of these people on this platform. And I can make it soft, so soft you can't even hear it, or I can make it so you can hear it. Even if you can hear it, if I don't stutter on it, there's no problem. There is no problem. There is no situation that you can't speak successfully that is defined as not appearing speech disabled. There is no situation you can't do it. But you've got to prove it to yourself.
Well, practice number 4.
Yeah, you
Mm.
need to work on crutch number 4 a lot. So the
Okay.
next time we talk, you can demonstrate it to me better than you did today.
Any recommended way to do that? Maybe reading aloud with number 4,
Yes, of course, sure, sure. And you don't have to do it on every word, but you might do it on, the first word of every sentence, or,
first word of every
you
sentence.
know, and vary the ways that you do it. And then also in your conversations, try and do it on occasion. But I also, the ultimate exit for you and anybody, in my opinion, from stuttering is an absolute 100% total commitment to passion, enthusiasm, and smiling as you speak. If you will embrace that, and this is something you can practice, you hang up this Skype and you can practice it on every word that comes out of your mouth from now till the next time you see me. It forces you to not hold back. Stuttering is, as John Harrison says, stuttering is the wrong word for the problem. It should be called holding back. He's absolutely right. That's what it is. We're holding back for fear of mistakes and failure and being judged. But the folly of it is you are the best judge of you. And you say, well, I know that's the problem. I know what a schnook I am. I know how I failed at this and I fail. I'm not tall enough and I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I don't have the right kind of shirts. I don't have enough money. Uh, I don't have the right kind of car. I don't live in the, blah, 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 blah. We're all the same, man. We're all the same. Even the rich, famous, and beautiful, they got a million problems too. I lived in Aspen for, 10, 15 years. Those people have as many problems as you and I do, if not more. They're just different problems, but they got them. You think you got problems? They got problems. They can tell you about them too. Terrible problems. So, what you think of yourself, don't worry about it. You say, well, I think I'm fairly proud of myself. I mean, after all, I do have a Ph.D. and I am a professor and I'm a pretty young guy and blah, blah, blah. All that's great. And you should feel that way, which doesn't mean you're inflated or that, you've got an ego that's insufferable or anything else. But it's inferiority complexes and perfectionism and concern with other people's opinions that drive stuttering. If you're doing your best and being a loving person and doing your mind training, you don't have any reason to feel inferior. If you're doing your best, it's going to be good enough to make a significant contribution wherever you go as long as you live. And be well thought of too. Because you think well of yourself. Because you're not hurting people. You're not being a bum. You're not being lazy. You're trying hard to control your mind, your body, and everything you do and say in a positive way. And you're getting better every day. What does Emile Coué say? Every day in every way, I grow better and better. Every day in every way, I grow better and better. Every day in every way, I grow better and better. That's what you're going to do because you're in control of doing that. And you're going to do it. Now, how you define get better and better may be different from how I define it. That's fine. I spend more time in the gym, or you do. Or I watch my diet more, or you do. Or I work on learning a new language more than you do, or you do. Whatever it is, are your goals, worthy goals. You know, you're working at them, making yourself better, giving yourself reasons to be proud of yourself. You'll never be perfect. You'll never be able to do everything you'd like to do or do it as well as you'd like to do it. That's fine. It doesn't matter. What matters is how hard did you try? How loving were you? Did you do your mind training? Or did you let your mind just get blown around by all the terrible news and the people around you who are negative? When you see the glass, when you see it half full, you're a happy guy. When you see it half empty, you're miserable. It's the same glass. Count your blessings. When I'm worried and I can't sleep, I count my blessings instead of sheep. And I fall asleep counting my blessings. If you don't count your blessings, you're missing a big opportunity, mate. You should do it every day because you're full of blessings. Your life is full of blessings. Got some problems, but you're dealing with them. It'll always have problems. The universe has problems. Our galaxy has problems. Our planet has problems. Our state has problems. Our university has problems. Fine. We work at them. And you do your part every day. But you're not going to hold back your speech. You're going to be the most enthusiastic guy in that university. And you're going to see a big improvement this week, not next week, this week. You're starting right now. Incidentally, um, I think I may have asked you this or written you about it. I don't remember. But we have a marketing firm called Gillespie Hall, who is a very competent firm that's helping us with World Stop Stuttering Association. I'm trying to make this association better known because I ain't going to be here and I'm not going to be doing this forever. And I want this system to continue because we've had 15 success stories so far this year, you know, and it's a handful of guys that got helping me, but this thing's got to go on. There is no reason for having stuttering on this planet. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I do agree.
And we need. Gillespie Hall's always asking me, "Do you have?" Well, they just asked me not long ago, "Do you have any teachers we could interview?" And I said, "Well, yeah, one of them is a university professor in Virginia somewhere." And so I mentioned you. I don't know if they'll contact you or not. Did I ask you about that? Did I ask you about it, or did I not?
No. So who is the? Do you have the name
Well,
of that person?
Gillespie Hall is the name of the organization. I don't know which one would call you, but or email you. But um, if they do and they want to interview you, what they want to know is what you think about this program, and how you like the book and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's exactly how they use this stuff. I don't know, but
Yeah.
they were interested in teachers, and I have three teachers. You and I got one who teaches languages at a very fine prep school um, in New York. And who is my third teacher? Oh God. Oh, my third teacher is a speech language pathologist.
Speech language pathologist who.
Yeah, but she's a
Um,
she's a she's a fan.
I don't think I have received any emails yet.
I think I
Or
think before too long we should do a success story on you, but I think we should. That's first base. Second base is loving to speak. It'll take longer to get to second base probably than it did to get to first base, but it's as I said, it's going down the hill, not up. Because really, truthfully, if you could make a 100% commitment right now to joy and enthusiasm with every word that came out of your mouth, maximum over the top use K, you won't need Crutch 4, you won't need anything else. You'll stop thinking words. The whole thing is going to just disappear like overnight.
I think it is really like that. It's really, you know, when I go in the mode of selecting words, what's appropriate, and then start fearing it, then my speech gets like a little choppy. But if I don't think about it, and I mean what I say and be enthusiastic about it, I don't think I have this issue anymore, to be honest.
Well, the whole thing though is, look, you can train yourself to do whatever you want to do.
Right.
You can train yourself to think, I will be enthusiastic, passionate, and smiling when I speak. I'm going to do it if it kills me. And maybe that's not your panic speech plan. That is your 24/7 when you're not in panic. Your speech plan is passion, enthusiasm, joy, smiling, laughter. I mean, that's it. Over the top. Pick the words that are going to bring it out of you. Write them down and do it. And don't stop. And come to SAM meetings. And don't give me any more of your excuses. And write me a book review, or I'm coming to Virginia with my broom and I'm going to chase you all over that campus.
Yes, I'll do it. I'm sorry that I've been uh,
All
unable.
right. I got to go.
Uh,
So you go have a fun day, but do everything we've been talking about here now, okay?
sure.
Don't let up. I'm counting on you. And you may hear from Gillespie Hall. I don't know if they'll call you or not, or write you, but they may. If they do, do what you can.
Yes,
Remember this, this program could save millions and millions and millions of people. So what you say is important because you're, one more cog in the wheel that we got working here. Okay?
will do.
All right, mate. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good one. Thank
My
you.